that looks different. That looks like it was replaced, like this wood, looks like someone had problem, it looks like something happened and that was replaced at one time.
Oh, probably.
That looks like it was,
Yeah.
this section here, see, even if you go down to where the varnish is going, the grain's a little bit
Yeah.
different.
When we bought it, it was just carpet, so we wasn't able to see the wood.
Yeah, well, what happened in the sixties, wall-to-wall carpet got to be the big thing.
The carpets.
Wall-to-wall carpet's got to be the big thing. Like if you came in, like when you're in our house, it's like from wall to wall. That you need to have somebody, normally you have to have a man come in and do it, only because they nail down what you can do, a tacking board, but they have this machine
Yeah.
or tool that they need to use, that they need to kick with their knees. And what it does, it forces the carpet over and down onto the tacking board. The tacking board looks like a little piece of one by, a little thin piece of wood with tacks coming all through it. They nail that down all the way around, and then when they're done, they come in and they got the carpet. You got to cut the carpet to fit to a
This
wall.
whole house is all
underneath it.
carpeted. This whole house.
Yeah. So now again, I don't know where you want to go. That's another option you can go since you're going in. If you
Yeah.
decide, oh, you know what? Like if you're ever in a house like our house, the only place we have where it isn't carpeted is right in the foyer. As you come out of the foyer, and this is the only section.
And everything what used to be carpet, and then my dad just after 10 years just got rid of it.
Well, sometimes they wear out. Why you got where you may not. You may have wanted this floor. You know, some people like the hardwood floor.
Yeah.
That's why we left a little bit right there.
The whole family of mine, when they came to my house, you got nice wood. You just need to do paint and paint over. They like hardwood floors.
That was the second thing I was going to suggest. Then you may want, even then you may not want to bother, if those nicks don't bother you.
See, at least like these type of.
If they didn't want to bother you, this maybe you would want, that's
Yeah,
it's going against
there's
you.
a lot of places that this when they got rid of the carpet. See these, like I'm
The
not
only
sure.
reason I would say not, and that, I would say, that's up to you. These look like dig marks, either from someone retacking them and hammering these down.
Okay, yeah,
Part
part of the carpet.
the wood's marred a little bit, but once you get, if you've sanded that, some of it would come out, some of that may come out, and if not, you're not gonna trip over it. You can either try filling it,
Yeah.
which wouldn't look real great, or just varnish over it and let the marring be there, because it's not like anything I think you would trip over. So you could, your other option is, since you do have this floor, you could get a big floor sander, but you gotta be careful, especially if you get the round one. I'll get the one that goes kind of back and forth and not a round one. Because if you go too heavy or you're not careful with these machines, you can get over sanded. They can make like little waves in the floor. But
Like on this side, we don't be should I fill these like this one?
no, you don't worry about that. The only ones you would worry about, I would talk about
Or
filling
these
is
type
that.
of these?
Yeah, where it's really,
Okay.
But if you were going to varnish, and that's what I'm trying to recommend, you just take all your rugs up, get some type of a sander.
Yeah.
They got different ones that you can just kind of, especially if you're doing the whole floor, you can kind of just keep pushing it. It sits on the floor, you have a handle and you can
Yeah, I've
push it
seen it
around.
before.
Yeah, so there's a couple of models that you could use that. I used it, well, we only did, the only place I did was in the dining room where we put an area rug. And I just did a small section, so I had a hand sander and I just sanded.
Use a hammer or just
No, it's a machine.
Yeah, it's like a lawnmower type of machine, right? Like
Yeah, the one you have, yeah, it's not as high, yeah.
Well, I don't
Yeah,
have
you would
it.
just,
I've seen
yeah,
it.
it's a big heavy machine that has a sandpaper on it, does that, and it vibrates. And you would just kind of walk back and forth, walk a long way, maybe walk back and
Yeah,
forth.
which will eventually look like this type of color, right?
And then
Whole entire
and
floor.
eventually it would all kind of look like this. This doesn't look finished. This would come up a little bit, and then would maybe nearly look like this. But if the other option again, if you would, in some respects, if you can work the machine, I would go start someplace where you
Yeah.
can't see and make sure you're not, pressing out. But those machines, most of them you just have to be careful. If you leave them sit, you don't
Yeah,
put
it
any
doesn't
pressure
go-
on them,
yeah.
they'll work. But sometimes if you're not careful, you're pushing, you hit something, it could hit it, or you could pick up, and then that thing could make a little vivid in your.
Yeah, and that
Sometimes you can see them, sometimes you can't. But with the floor you have, like I like, see how they have the two different kind of woods, and you have like a pattern the way that I don't know why they did that, but oh I know there's probably was a wall there at one time. You see how you have the different. Like there's a different pattern there.
Oh, yeah.
Where it kind of, I don't know why it went over into the wall over that way unless somebody switched the
old
doorway,
days,
unless the
old
doorway
houses.
was there at one time and the wall was there. But
Oh, the old houses are not like this type.
everyone, they're different. I never saw that design where it goes, you see, but this, a lot of the old houses, see how you have this different
Yeah, these are
floor?
different carpets.
No, not this.
This
See how this, yeah, see how it's a different color wood? It's
Yeah.
a different, probably even a different grade. This might be a walnut or an oak. Probably not an oak, it could be an oak or a walnut. And this look could be like a chestnut.
Oh,
A chestnut, and so it's a different color. It's already, that's hard even if you got all the varnish, which it probably is, there's probably no varnish there. You can see the difference. There's a little bit of varnish still on it. See right there how it's kind of
it's brown stain.
shiny.
Oh,
No, that's what I'm saying. That's just varnish. There's
okay.
no stain. It brings out the natural color, tries to bring out the natural color. Sometimes, like you can see, it's a little bit darker than with nothing on it. But this is basically this is the color of the wood. See, that's just a varnish. That's not a stain. You can stain a wood, but most of this is natural. It's the natural color with just a clear varnish over it.
So once
Now,
I sand it, everything is going to.
that has been either sanded or just. I don't know.
There's a collar, is a sealer.
I think. Check with them on that. But what it is, you do want the first one where you don't have, your first coat's maybe, if you can, like a flat coat. A flat
coat?
varnish. Yeah, you want a
Okay.
flat varnish or a seal or something. I think you can get it. I know in paints you can. The difference between a finished paint and a flat paints always have a dull look. Some people like even a flat as a finish, so they'll use a flat paint. Has a nice dull, even look to it, and it doesn't show Mars as much. You get the finish coat, and it gets a gloss. Now that's what I'm getting at. It's this gloss. When you get regular varnish, when you're finished, it gets a gloss. So every time, and that's why you don't put as many coats on. Every time that coat's dry, you gotta wait for it to dry for a day or two.
Wait for
Then
that.
you have to sand it. Not a whole lot, not like you did when you did the floor. You want to get a finish. Like when you do this floor, you're going to start.
Yeah, well, first I sand it, and then you say you put another flat coating.
Right. When you're going to start, when you're sanding this floor and you're trying to get this varnish off, you're going to use what they call a coarse grade of sandpaper or a medium. I would start, since you have this, you would start with a coarse. You would get that off.
Okay,
Then you might go
coarse.
down to a medium or a fine grade and sand it again. There, what you're trying to do is any of the imperfections or any grooves you may have gotten in from the coarse sanding, it takes some of that out and makes it a little bit smoother.
So-
You'll nearly feel the difference between the coarse sanding and the finish sanding. But you probably should sand it at least twice. One with a coarse piece of sandpaper, they'll clean it up for you. Get these scratches out. The coarse digs deeper.
It's still the same machine though, right?
Same machine. You'll use the same machine. The machine will be the same. But the coarse sandpaper, it just
They'll probably fade it out first.
It cuts in more.
Okay.
It'll do a better cut. It's coarser and it takes it off. That's for like removing things. You want to
Right, I understand.
take away
Remove
more of
that
the
scar.
wood. It cuts
Okay.
away the wood, cuts away your varnish
Okay.
more.
So coarse for the whole entire room, and then after that, medium.
A medium
sand.
or a fine. And
A
what
medium
you're
or a
trying
fine.
to, probably a medium. I've never gone to a fine. I wouldn't do it 3
Would it
times.
be just coarse in this spot, or just coarse the whole entire area?
Anywhere you want to get the varnish up. Like I'd be careful with I wouldn't do a coarse.
Oh, I see. Just get rid of the varnish off. That's what
I would do
that's
it
what-
quick on that. You could do that because what it'll do, it'll get the coarse will cut a little bit more of your,
Right.
a little more of the wood
see.
away even, and with all the
The coarse is to get rid of, just to get rid of the varnishes off.
get rid of the varnish and get the top layer of dirt and wood off. Like it'll take away a little bit of the wood,
Right.
more of the wood than a fine. So you'll see it. Yeah, even if you did it by hand, if you took if you put the same amount of pressure as much as you can tell, and you did that with a coarse,
Yeah, just to fade
and
it
then
out.
you did it with a medium or a fine, you'll see there's a difference of the way it feels. You'll
Right.
even see with a medium sometimes it'll even maybe leave a fine line that you can see, but those lines are usually covered up with the varnish.
Gotcha.
And then if you use a fine, you'll see even there's a different feel. The line you won't see. Yeah, the way you feel it's smoother. Everything's
Gotcha.
a whole lot smoother.
I see.
But
Okay,
but
so-
the course you need a course. You want to get
Course
this
to
up.
get
you
rid
want
of the
a course
scars. Mainly is the
Get rid
scars.
of the scars. Yeah, because it cuts. The coarse sandpaper cuts into your wood and into your varnish. It gets it out. It does it a little bit
Okay.
faster.
Okay.
It goes a little deeper, a little faster. But then again, sometimes you can see you can feel it. You can see it's not.
Once I
as
sand
easy.
everything, should I just wait for a day and put the varnish in, or just like maybe I could do it the same
they-
day?
Do your sanding, clean it all up.
Clean it
Try
all
to
up.
get it. Then do your medium sanding or your fine sanding. Get that fine sandpaper. I go with the medium again because I think that gets it. The medium gets it smooth enough,
Yeah.
and finished enough, and you don't see it, and you won't see any lines. And it also does a little bit cutting. Yeah, I think that'll give you a good base for your varnish.
I see.
All right, so I'll go at least sand it twice. Use your course to get that.
Get rid of scars.
And
Not the other stuff to get rid of the varnish. The coarse ones. Get rid of the varnish too.
Yeah. You want to get rid of the varnish because you don't. Well,
Like,
just
some-
so it's even.
Yeah, so the
you have
color
it-
is even.
The
Everything's
way
fine.
so when it soaks in, it's all even.
Oh.
Basically, you have the same color because, like I say, if you put a varnish on top of that, and you put it on top of where you've that's what'll happen. You can see the difference. If you put a varnish on top of a varnish, I'll say you like over there, that
Yeah.
would be looking like nice and glossy, but over here it'd be dull. You can see there's a difference between the finish only because the
Yeah,
bare wood soaked it in.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have another layer that's just laying on. The more layers of coats of varnish you put on, the richer and glassier it'll look.
Okay.
Okay, so that's why you want to get all the varnish off. So you want a nice, every time you put a layer on, it's just that layer.
Yeah.
You
All
gotta you put the first layer on. It's all going on unfinished wood.
Okay.
So hopefully, sometimes even that, because you get a part that the wood's been really worn.
Gotcha.
It might soak it up more than where maybe you didn't get all the varnish off, or the varnish soaked
It's
in a little
basically
more.
just to
and
soak it
more.
in, and then so you can put the seal on top of it. That's why we do the coarse and then the medium sanding it in.
You're doing the coarse sanding to clean it up,
Yeah.
get all the varnish off, get as much of the dirt off as you can, get a nice, smooth, clean top layer of varnish.
Right.
Then you're going to clean it so again. You
Yeah.
get all that sand off. You don't
Yeah.
have any dirt there
Yeah.
that you're going to
Vacuum.
seal in there, or you're going to see it by the.
I should do the varnish like maybe next day after the.
Once you
cleaning.
get it clean, you want to do the varnish. Yeah.
I should do it next day, right?
Well, depending on when you're finished. If you
Oh.
say
It should be
the
very fast though. If I do coarse and then do sand, and this just the area alone, it should be just finished for one day.
I don't know. I don't know. It depends on how much trouble you have, how much time you
Oh.
spend trying to get that out. It depends on how how much time it takes to get it up. Some guys can do it in a day. I would probably say it probably may take me 2 or 3 days to do these two rooms. These 2 rooms, sanding them and getting them the way I want
Oh.
them, prepare them.
I see.
It take me. I'm sure it would take
You
me.
still want to take your time, do the scar,
Yeah.
and just take your
Right.
time. Do not do it all fast.
Yeah,
I understand what you mean. I
Some
understand.
some guys can do it. I don't. They just know how to handle the machines, how much pressure to put on it, and they go. First, like you're gonna have to get used to even handling that. Once you get that, then it'll go a little bit quicker too. You're gonna have to learn how to handle the machine. But I'm sure it would take me a couple days to get that up. And again, you gotta be careful. It's not gonna take you long. Yeah, that area right there, you're gonna go through. There's nothing there. All you're doing is cleaning it up.
I don't need no coarse over here. Just maybe just medium.
Yeah,
for
you
the
might
entire
want
day.
to skip it and do that with the medium, right? But if you do, you just go real quick because again, you never know. Like here, this looks like there's nothing here. I mean, I don't know how it got worn down, but you never know. You see how
Yeah.
see how there's a different slightly different look right there.
Yeah, just like a
Then-
little
then
grayish, a
here-
little bright, a
Yeah.
little bit slight.
Yeah, so that's another reason why you would, because then that would probably take this off, and it just makes it a little bit easier. You might want to at least go over this. Yeah, see that? There's varnish here.
Yes.
There's no varnish here. There's no varnish. It looks like there's no
Yeah, just
varnish
like
here.
maybe just
But you
coarser
would,
here.
I would, and you see how unlevel it is.
Yeah.
It would take this off probably even before it hits that. You might even wind up doing this by hand, because this is above that, and your sander's not even going to hit that.
Oh, you mean the sand? It's probably not gonna be able to hit it.
Yeah, because it's going to be up here, and then you got a high spot here, so it's going to be riding over it until it takes this down, and then it may hit it, or at least takes this down, because that's, I don't know how. But anyway,
Okay,
you'll
got
see
it.
there's a lot of little things that you don't know, that you don't
Okay.
realize, but
Okay,
I can
I
see that there's a
understand.
lip there. But anyway, that's an option. Your other option is, like you say, just say the heck with it, there's too much work.
Yeah.
I've seen these new floors, I like it better, and you just go with that. Again, and then when you get out there, you start buying this, you're gonna find all different kind of floors. You got most of the wood they put down that I've seen, I've gone into houses today that guys do, because of the cost of it, it's a whole lot cheaper than if you went with a walnut. Looks the same. You don't have to do any varnishing afterwards. And they
Yeah,
said they
because
put
they're
these
putting the
in.
wood on top
Yeah,
of it.
right, it's already like pre-finished, and all you gotta do is nail it in, and you're done as you get it in. But that's your new flooring, and there's a lot of it's artificially, man-made materials that make it look like it's
Easier,
natural wood.
simple.
And it looks as good as the natural wood when you would get done. The natural wood, you have to, when you're done, you gotta varnish it, and like I say, it takes anywhere from at least 2 to 3 good coats to get to where it looks like, oh crow.
Well, you put the 3 different coatings on the
They're
varnish,
not
right?
three, most of it except for maybe the first one,
Like, how long are you supposed to wait until you put the next varnish in and the next coating?
at least a day.
A day.
Usually 8 hours.
8 hours?
Yeah, at least you gotta wait at least 8 hours before that's dry. It might feel dry to touch in an hour or two, but it's not like they
I
say
see.
the underlay. It's not completely set
So
and
like,
ready
maybe
to
like,
go.
yeah, okay, 8 hours of each single coating. 8 hours and put the next coating, and then wait until another 8 hours, another
Right.
coating,
And
another 8
now the
hours,
other
another
thing
coating.
too, again, like I'm saying, if you get a regular varnish and seal or what, they get a gloss on it, and it's recommended you take a fine sandpaper and go over it. So again, with the machine, maybe, I don't know if you would, I don't think you'd want to do it with a machine. It would be with maybe like on like a hand thing. And all you want to do is
That's
get
the hand thing. The drum.
is get the finish off. You don't want that oil. You don't want that smooth, glossy finish, and you'll get that. So all you want to do is get that up. You're just trying to rough it up. Not, and when I say rough, all I mean is
Yeah, just that you rough it up.
get something. Varnish and paint won't. Well, it will stick. It'll stay on there, but it'll peel easier. Whenever you paint something with a glossy finish or a semi-gloss, you've got to get that gloss off. You'll find it. I don't know. I've always sanded it. I know I've always been told you've got to get that gloss, so you got to do it. When you're doing it with a new finish, all you want is a fine or super fine sandpaper, and all you want to do is wipe over it, and that sandpaper will take off enough of that gloss where you'll get a stick.
Oh, so you still need to sand it after the sealing?
Between each coat, you'll have to do a light sanding. Not like you did before. It can be real quick. All you got to do is
It's like a little bit. Your hand is a little bit lighter.
right. All you want to do is just run it across, so it
So
takes a
even
little
out
bit.
smooth.
So what you're trying to do is take the gloss off.
Okay.
You're not, make it so it isn't glossy, so it has something to stick to. How can I say? I don't know. It's just.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. That's the first coating. First 8 hours, and then you just sand it again.
Yeah, then you would take. Then you would sand again. Maybe with the first coating, if it gets sucked in enough, maybe you won't need it. But most of the time, they tell you you have to give a light sanding. Maybe after the first coat you won't, because a lot of that's going to get sucked in.
Okay, maybe he doesn't.
Yeah, but then after that, you're going to have a gloss to it, and you want to get a little bit rid of that gloss. So it's just with a fine sandpaper. All you want to do is 1 or 2 swipes over it, and let that roughs up the gloss, so the new stuff has something to, it's a little uneven. It gets down, but anyway, it just does something. It just helps it stick. Some might say you don't have to, but I've always been told that between the finishes, anytime you use something that has a gloss or semi-gloss finish, you've got to.
That would be the first coating, the first varnish.
If you do a flat, if you can find a flat one, or just an oil base, something where it's going to get soaked in, and it doesn't have any type of a finish to it, then I'd say I keep using that until you get a couple layers on, and then go with your finish coat. But anything that will have a finish to it and the gloss to it, yeah. If you get a flat varnish, check with it, then you may not have to sand in between.
After the
But
flat
if you
varnish,
right.
flat one, and then if you have the flat one, you do that one 8 hours, and then the varnish.
Well, yeah, or I would put 2 or 3 flats on, and then put your finished varnish on. And then if you feel like you don't like the looks of that, it's not that
Glossy.
rich, glossy look that you're wanting,
For another 8 hours,
then you
then
have to do
another one.
then you have to do that sanding, right? Because once you put a gloss, anything that has a gloss to it,
Mhm.
you have to give a light sanding, not like I'm telling you before, not where you're trying to make it smooth. All you're trying to do is rough up the finish, so it'll adhere to it. It'd be.
Gotcha. So that's why the high school gyms are like where it's like.
They got a number of coat plants. They probably got I bet you they have.
Basketball court and those stuff.
Yeah, they probably have more than 3 coats on it. Or they know how to do it, so they put a heavy coat on it, and then they kind of do a slight, real fast sanding, then they do a heavy, or they use like I say, they know what they have a flat, or they have one that they can paint, that they can go over, and they put them down, then you put your final finish coat on. And with all that other stuff under it, that absorbs it, so it's not, then that finish coat gives it that nice glossy,
It seems like no big deal.
glassy
Just
look.
like make sure you just handle the sanding machine.
Yeah.
It should be
And
fine.
that's your one option, and your other options, like you say, if you wanna buy the material, you just take all your stuff out, and then you're gonna nail it to it.
I'm
okay?
probably gonna do the sanding thing, cause I
try
think that's
that?
the basic one. I saw
Yeah.
my friends do that before too.
Yeah, that's, I mean, these stores should come up. I mean, things like that, you might knock it out. I mean, this is the only reason that, like this
Yeah.
and these things would make me, well, I don't know how well that's gonna come up, look like. Sometimes it doesn't mind, it gives it a little bit more rustic, look to it. Some people don't mind it. And you can say, that's the rustic look I was looking for.
I see.
But, see, things like that, sometimes people would say, oh, no, you gotta cover it up. It depends on what you're looking at.
I see. But
and
once I
what
do
what you want.
I guess I don't need a filler. Then if I do need a filler, I have to do it like before you do the sand. But at this case, I probably don't need.
Sand it first, then see where your filler. Then rub your hand over and see and then see what it looks like. If you can barely see it, possibly by the time you get done putting the
I
two or
see.
three
I see.
coats
Yeah, I see
on,
what you mean then.
2 or 3 coats on, it might not be. So sand it, and then see where you're at.
Okay.
Sand it first, see where you're at. Fillers, you're still going to see it. And you might say, I don't want that. At least this way, you can see it's all you can see it's all part of the wood. It's just the wood got marred.
I see.
Something happened to it. Somebody came in. I dropped something.
Yeah.
You got it done.
That's what I was
it got
thinking.
worn out. Something happened. But you see, if you put a filler, you see how that is. That's probably a filler. And to find that, you got 2 different types of fillers. You got some fillers that are going to look just like that. They're going to have a white finish to it. You have a couple fillers.
I see.
Wood seal. Is it wood seal?
Oh. Wood
Wood
seal?
seal or wood seal. I can't think. There's one called wood seal.
Okay.
And wood filler.
It's basically
And
sand down.
it has a woody look to it.
I gotcha.
Elmer's has a filler, and it looks like that. When you get it on, it'll look like that. So it looks like your white paint is in it.
Yeah,
And,
but it's like wood.
or you put plaster down. I mean that's the color. It's not the same. It's not the same texture. It's a whole lot tougher than plaster. But I'm saying it has a white look to it, so it doesn't have anything wood. And you're going, it'll get a little bit varnish. Will make it a little yellow looking, a little yellowish, but it's still not the same as the wood. And you can tell you did something to it. So you may just prefer the irregular, the marring to.
Just
either
like-
way, it's going to
yeah.
be marred. So you
Okay.
may prefer the
Sand-
heck
sand
with
it.
Yeah, sand it down. But that's your other option there. But again, your wood, you would take off. Well, you have it off. No, you don't have any baseboard over here. You got some baseboard. You just take your baseboard off, push your stuff up to it, push it. Nail it down. I mean, you always want to go on an angle when you're nailing, and don't go all the way down. When you get down to
that
about
part
the
I probably
head.
won't do that one. I'm not
To
gonna
the
do that
head,
one.
but that's originally, but then, then you would stop, you would have to have a nail punch and you would punch it in the rest of the way, with that nail punching hammer.
Yeah, that's the easy way, and then you buy new materials, the whole entire area, and then
And then you would, so then you would start in like one area, but then you gotta cut around everything. Like when you get over there, if the wall goes in, you have to, you got a lot of measuring and a lot of cutting to do.
the varnish. You think it'll be like how many buckets? You think I'll need just for one room, or just like one
I
bucket
think
of flat and then like 2 buckets of varnish?
I think that would probably do it. You probably see you use a little bit less too, because again, the first one, it might even take you, unfortunately, maybe a gallon and a half of the flat of the first one.
Okay.
That first one, like I say, it's been
The
so
varnish is like some sort of mop, right? You just dip it in and just like mop it in. That's what it is,
You
right?
could do a roller, you can do roll it, yeah.
Oh.
That would probably be your best way. That's your quickest way with a roller.
Oh,
Another way would be just on your hands and knees and nailing it. But yeah, no, you use a roller.
Oh, you use
yeah,
a roller?
Use a roller. Yeah, use a roller.
Nice.
Not because the roller, it would give you like for the wall, it gives you a little handheld thing.
Yeah,
You
yeah, I
have that,
know.
and then they usually have something where you can put a
Yeah.
a broomstick in,
Yeah, yeah.
and then you just stand and you roll it.
Would it be okay if I use like flat and then after I'm done with the flat and then dip it back to the
Just
varnish?
check it with it. I think. No. You gotta let it dry. You do one coat at a time.
Yeah.
You do the whole thing, whatever it is. I don't know if they have a flat varnish or not,
I'll ask them.
or what they would like a sealer, or what they would recommend for that first coat. But if it has, and check with them, read it, and read the labels. It's been so long since I've done it, but I know once you start putting that varnish with the glossy finish, you're going to have to go over it with a fine sandpaper. But you don't want to put any pressure. All you're going to do is
Just sand lightly. You know, like you
just
done.
sand lightly. You'll see a little bit of you'll see eventually like a little bit of dust. So and then that's the other thing. Whenever you sand, you gotta clean it, wipe it clean. You gotta make sure you, like you say, vacuum it or use a damp cloth on it
Okay.
and let that dry. And then you start your varnishing again. But it'll take you I would say definitely you're going to need 2 coats. And I would say you're think about 3 or at least 3. I'd say at least 3 coats to put down. You might get by maybe after 2 coats and say, hey, you know what? I'm tired of this. That looks good enough.
Got it.
And then just go with the 2. But
Okay.
if you put that third one on, you'll say, oh, okay. You can see the difference between the 2 coats and the 3 coats.
Yeah, so
But,
between the medium coats, you still need to sand it down lightly, and then you put the next
and
coating.
the only one would be the first one, because I think that might get soaked in enough where it's not gonna bother you. But you can nearly tell when you're doing it how well it's going
Yeah,
on.
because it looks glossy.
Yeah, but how it's going on or whether it's settling somewhere. But to be safe, I don't know. Unless I knew I was using something that didn't have a glossy finish.
Gotcha.
I would want to sand it.
All right.
I'm used to that. That's the only thing is, you can talk to the guys at Home Depot, the paper, and you pull that tape off. You can't use that tape again because you got all the paper stuck to it, and that was able to stick to that paper good. You know, and you pull the paper up with it because all the glue is all entangled with that and sticking to that paper. If you put it on like a piece of glass or a piece of plastic, a piece of like plastic covered paper, and you pull off, normally you get nothing, and you can feel the difference. You don't get as much drag. I mean, it comes off like a varnish or a piece of glass real easy. Where if you put it on paper or you put it on a piece of paint, it's a little bit harder to get it off. It's because it's not that glossy. It's not glossy, and it has more.
I guess you
Oh,
said
you
that's
like? Oh, all right, that's it. Yeah, Velcro.
Velcro.
Yeah.
That's the flat.
Yeah, no. I'm talking about the Velcro. You know, the things that you just kind of you put across. What I'm trying to show you is that.
Yeah.
All right. One, there's no hooks to it. It's just all hairy, and it's all hairy. And then you take this hook thing and you stick it to it, and all those hairs grab it. Well, if you take those hooks and you put that on here, or you put it on this, or your shirt, it doesn't do a thing. It needs that hairy,
Yes.
unnatural, different levels
Yeah,
for the hooks to grab into, and that's what you're doing when you're sanding. You're taking that varnish and it's getting different. It's getting those hooks. It's getting something to hook onto.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know, you have
I know what you
it gets a little bit deeper. And it gets it gives you that hooks. You're making those hooks by standing it. You're getting those hooks that it can stick to.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And like you say, even like with a piece of tape, if you put it on something that's real smooth, it comes off easy.
Yeah.
You put it on something that's a little rough. I mean, not real rough, but you know, like a
It's like rocky.
like this, or you know, even like up here. Well, not even you got glossy, it might even come off. But you put it on something that's a little bit rougher, like paper, and it sticks, and sometimes it pulls the paper with it.
Yeah.
You know, but
Honestly.
because it's sticking to it, and it's a little rougher, and it has surface that it gets down into. The glue gets down into, and it just sticks to it. And you can't get it apart. Where anything you would have a nice smooth.
Yes. I was
hard
trying to make an
finish.
analogy, like between like making a smooth varnish. That's what it is.
Yeah, what I'm trying to do is saying if you don't varnish it, it's going to stick to it like something like putting tape on something that's glossy. It just comes off easy.
Oh, I see what
You
you
know,
mean. Yeah,
so it's going to if
yeah.
you
You
get
like you put a step or use your shoes and then all of a sudden the varnish disappears like very fast.
yeah, like if it pop like
Yeah.
it'll wear off quicker.
I see what you
They
mean.
may wear off quicker. It may not stick as well, and you wind up like with flakes. You know, you get hot and cold with the different seasons, and it'll separate easier. And then the next thing you know, like you say, you step on it, it breaks, it chips, starts chipping because it doesn't have a good adhesion.
Your house is all carpet or is it like all hardwood like mine? Like the
Underneath, it's
Oh, I
all
see.
hardwood like this.
Oh.
Again, and then like I
the
said,
temperature is like makes it varnish disappears.
no, the temperature.
Like,
Anything with temperature, when it gets hot, it expands.
Yeah.
When it gets cold, it contracts. Well, with that expanding and contracting, if you don't have a good adhesion,
Yeah.
it could.
But if you're putting three varnish
The-
and
the-
coating, it should be okay.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If it's holding, and that's what you're trying to do, you're trying to get a good seal where it's holding. You do it where you got a little bit of old varnish on it. You get it where maybe you drop some oil on it. You put it. You don't sand it, and you put it on that nice smooth surface.
Right.
Well, the wood's contracting at a certain amount. The varnish is contracting at a certain amount. And if everything's not contracting at the same, eventually they could pull, it pulls apart and causes the flaking that sometimes you see where it pulls away from the wall. I feel some of that comes from the fact that it wasn't prepared good. either there was dirt there that they just went over, or it was a little bit more glossy, that didn't get, it was a little bit glossy. So again, with the contracting and everything, and expanding, eventually, because it wasn't a good seal, it pulls away. You know what I mean? All right? So that's why I say you need the, it's better to sand.
Yeah.
Again, it depends on your product. They make all different kind of product. I know with paint too, I want to sand because I want a nice smooth surface. I want a clean surface, and again, I want a surface that paint's going to adhere to. And usually that's what the sanding helps it do. It helps the paint adhere to it and stick to it.
Like the
it makes it
material
clean.
cost, about the sandpaper, and then also the paint. How much would that cost? Yeah, you think? Maybe 1,000, 100?
No. With painting and sanding, it does take time. And it depends on how many pieces of paper you need.
Oh, yes.
And it depends on the different products too. Each sanding a sandpaper.
It's like
the
one
coarse-
drummer should be, one sand drummer should be enough for this area. One coarse sandpaper could be enough for it, and one sandpaper on top of it should be easier.
No, it's going to take enough for the whole floor.
For
You
the
only
floor.
probably use a couple. You get about halfway through the floor, you'll probably be ready to use another piece of sandpaper. Over here, where you're doing a lot, you might even wind up maybe even a quarter of it, like where you're trying to get that up and you're trying to get that off. Like this, yeah, you'll go through. If the whole floor was like this, you probably get maybe 3/4 of it done before you have to change it. Because unless you're trying to take a lot of the wood away, then eventually you would use more.
Like one drummer like sandpaper, the medium one should be just one of them is enough, right? It's one whole entire area.
No, yeah, you'll take a couple sheets of paper. You'll use a number of sheets of paper. I would say if you in this room, maybe the finished one you might be able to do a whole room with one or two. This one to get all the varnish up and everything, I would say it would be probably 2 or 3 sheets to do this room of paper.
Just the drummer, the medium one alone,
Uh,
or just like one course and then like for
Well, the course, no, when you do the course, they'll probably do for this room, maybe
Yeah,
that would be a
just
little
this
bit-
room, no, just this room here.
I would say at least probably 3 pieces or 4 pieces of paper,
Oh, wow.
maybe more. Yeah, it'd be a number of pieces of
I
paper,
see.
or you'd have a number of them you have
I
to
see.
use.
It's a lot of
It
stuff
would-
to learn.
Yeah, it's going to be more than you. I wouldn't even know, and it depends on how it's cutting. Like I'm saying, you might start out over there where you got the varnish down there. You got a nice thick, good coat of varnish that hasn't been worn, and you might use a piece of paper just to get out to where the wall stick comes out, where the chimney is. I think that's the chimney there. You'd have to get. It'll take you maybe one might only get you there, and with all that and trying to get that out, you might use a 1 or 2 just to get to here, and then this next one you might go a little bit quicker.
I see what you
But
mean.
over there, just to get that little area out over there, you might wind up using a sheet of paper where it's nice and glossy. You see, like we have where it's not worn hardly at all.
Yeah.
And you can see it's a whole lot better than over here. That might take just to do this little area right here where it's real nice to get that up, like back there, the same thing. It might take you a couple sheets of paper.
Let's see. So the coarse one maybe 3. The hard one maybe another 3.
Well, yeah, I talked to a man in the store. I'm not that, but I know. Don't expect to do like a 1 sheet of paper to do.
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
what I thought too.
No. You'll buy. I've bought 2 or 3 packs of sand. We have at least a pack of sandpaper to do it.
Okay.
To do something.
I gotcha.
It's and like I say, it's work. I don't know. When you're considering a job, I wouldn't worry about your brother too much. One, except for you say you want to do it. So if you want to learn it, you want the experience, then fine, go to it. And that's what it takes. You wanting to do it.
Yeah.
It's going to be work. It's going to take you time. It probably won't be as much as you think. And again, you're going to get different opinions. Like that guy even said he does something where most guys would say, "Well, you doing that? That's an extra step you don't need." Again, I'm saying might take that. You might do a coat with the rough thing, and hey, that looks fine to me. But again, I want to make sure I got the varnish off. I don't want any varnish down here. Some of this stuff I would probably be trying, but I don't think I would be able to go too far. I would probably try to sand that a little extra to get that down where it's not quite as noticeable. But then you got to be careful because you got the two grains going in different directions. And if you trying to get this out, I might have to say forget about it. And I gotta say, be careful on that because you can come up to it, and if you can stop right here, that's fine. Like if you're coming in here and then stop, you may be able to get this to come down a little bit, but you can't go too much, or else you're going to see it
level down.
You're going to see the whole
different
bevel.
levels. I see.
But you could get a little bit of that down where it's not as noticeable. You put the varnish on it, and
I see.
hey,
Same thing like these stuff too.
yeah. But again, you gotta go. Oh, and that's be careful. You don't want to be going across this.
Yeah.
You want to start here and go that way.
That's the wood.
This
style.
you want to go that way.
Okay.
You want to follow the grain. You want to
see.
sand with the grain. If you get a real bad spot, if you want to do it by hand, you want to go across the grain. But no, don't do that. I've done that. I did that, and you'll see. If you go across the grain, you're going to cut into it, and you're going to see lines.
I see.
You're going to, after you do that, then you got to keep going, and you're going to have to sand it until you can sand those lines out, and that's going to be a lot of work. And it's going to be because you have to get, and again, it's going to be a couple of layers. You're going to have to use a coarse, and then you're going to have to use a medium, and then you're going to want to use that fine sandpaper. That's going to be difficult. So you have to be careful when you're doing that. You don't want to go across because you're going to get the lines, and it'll take you. It'll be hard. It'll be a lot of work, and it'll be just like trying to get those grooves out. If you would do it. So always go sand with the grain.
Mm-hmm.
So you would put your. Either you want to make sure you don't want to go past that line when you're sanding if you're coming. And if you're starting, you want to make sure you start at that line and not on here. Otherwise, you'll have like
different levels.
Like teeth.
I understand.
No, you'll have like scratch marks against the grain. And so when you're doing this part, you got to go that way. When you're doing this, you want to be going back and forth this way. Well, the one thing is at least once you start, you can follow this like right along the line here.
Okay.
You follow that? So you want to be going back like this, and when you get over here, again, when you get to here, you don't want to be going this way on here. You want to go again with the grain.
Okay.
See this one, the grain's going this way.
Yeah.
This way, it's going this way.
I see.
So
see all these grains.
again, you got the little Mars, but like I say, again here, maybe you might be able to go over that a couple times. You may be able to get that a little less noticeable. And then when you put the varnish on, the varnish will sit there. Like a pool. That'll take forever to dry. Then you might have to wait a couple days for it to dry. But if you can let that, so you let that pool and that fills in there, then you'll hardly even notice it.
Gotcha. I understand everything now.
But it's a lot of work, and that's the biggest thing. Is that something you want to do and take on? If you want it, then go to it.
Otherwise,
if you're doing it just because your brother's telling you to. But yeah, you would have to sand that. You would sand that. You're not trying to get down to the plaster or to whatever's behind it. All you're trying to do is clean it and get the gloss off of it so the paint will stick to it. So the product's name is Sandband.
I see. So painting, instead of graining, you can make this more smooth again and you paint over it. I got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Whenever you paint or you're varnishing, you got to get the finish off. That glossy finish off.
Yeah, my dad just like paint over whatever paint bucket, just paint on top of the wall. That's what my dad did.
My
dad didn't know anything.
I never could do that. And hey, it worked for me. It looks fine, yeah. And I wonder how long that had been since you painted the wall. But it looks fine.
Yeah, it's like 10 years ago.
I'd have to sand it or wipe it down with a sand dam to get the finish off. If he painted over there,
yeah,
I can tell you what happened there. You didn't have it painted before. This has wallpaper on it.
Yeah.
And now the paint, where the seams are, which always seems to be where less glue gets on, is starting to pull away from the wall because of the paint.
You should always get rid of the wallpaper first and then
Oh,
paint it.
if you, yeah, you should. No, painting over wallpaper isn't the best thing, and that's why you got the seam. You see the seam. You
Yes.
got rid of the wallpaper, and you wouldn't see seams in your wall. The
Do you think I
seam-
could just put another wallpaper on top of it?
You can, because then most of your wallpapers are the same, so you'd have the same seams, and everything would follow up. But what happens, again, that's things you have to do right away, because you have to you can't put wallpaper over that because it's curling already and coming off.
Yes.
You'd have to at least take,
Cut it off. Like
Cut
maybe
that
fade it
off.
Yeah.
and then if you had a space in there, you may have to. I saw one guy, he came, and if he couldn't get the paper off for one reason, he put the blended. He stuck all brown paper on it so it would be even, and you wouldn't see it. And then he put his wallpaper on. He put the wallpaper over
I
it.
see.
It's a
Yeah. My dad.
well,
that's
somehow,
what he
whether
did.
if you had an indentation for something that was irregular, he covered it up with that. And why it didn't come through, it never did see it come through. But yeah, you'd have to take all this. Whatever you did with this wall now, I would say, get rid of the paper. And it would be hard getting rid of it now, because one of the ways to get rid of it, you put steam on it, and that loosens the glue.
Steam the whole entire wall.
Oh yeah, you steam. You steam a little bit. You steam a little section and scrape it. You steam a
Wow.
little bit more and you scrape it. My son just took him a while. It takes a while, but it eventually comes off. Especially when it gets dried out. Like already, this maybe, if you try, I don't know how far you would get even just pulling that. How much you would get, and you might be lucky. You might get a big section off. You might be unlucky and only get like what the size of your finger or whatever you got to hold them.
That's why the dudes. I know what you mean. Yeah.
But the steam, but the trouble with that now, you might even be this in your case. You may even be, because of the paint making it heavier. You may be able to get, once you pull this off, you may be able to get a scraper behind it and just keep scraping it off, because the paint is probably starting to pull it a little bit.
I see.
But
My
yeah,
dad never knew
if you
anything
would do
about
anything,
this.
if you would do anything with this wall, I would recommend trying to get rid of. And that is not an easy job either, and it's troublesome. But we took sometimes the more you have on it, the better, because it's thicker. But I would scrape it off. Be careful scraping. You dig too hard or push too hard, then your scraper digs into the plaster, and now you got a little bit of a plastering job.
I see. This one, like you can feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what I should have known. Yeah, he painted over wallpaper. But you could, again, if you decide you want to do something with that wall, that's what I would, you could try sanding those seams out, but I don't know.
Thanks.
I would say we try to get rid of the sandpaper. The only trouble is I don't know what these blemishes are.
It's probably paint over like.
I don't know if it's like dirt behind got on it, or whether I'm afraid they're like nails coming up. They look like nails coming out.
Nails.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They look like the head of a finish nail coming out of
Doesn't
the
look
wall.
like it's nails though.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. It could be dirt. It could be nails. It could be anything. But it was painted over, so I don't know if it's in the paint or in the wall behind the wallpapers. Maybe
You
somebody didn't. When he mixed his glue, didn't get it all dissolved, and the plaster because when your wallpaper, the glue or the adhesive they use is a powder that you have to put in mortar and mix it up, and if that powder doesn't dissolve and become like an Elmer's paste,
Uh-huh.
then you could have that showing up.
I see.
Or somebody didn't clean the wall, or sanded the wall, and particles was off the land. Then when they put that on,
Even the wallpaper need a professionally.
you can wallpaper.
You can. I can just wallpaper on top of it. It should
You
be
can
fine.
put people wallpaper. I've wallpaper too. I can't remember. Oh no, we didn't do it. I didn't wallpaper our house. We took all the wallpaper off, and we had somebody come in and wallpaper, because I've done it before at my mother's house when I was young, and I just didn't want to be.
You took the wallpaper, like the steam, and then scrape it all off.
Oh yeah. Or you.
Hot water.
Yeah, you could, well, that's what I'm saying, yeah, that's the other option, if it's wallpaper, but he painted over. You squirt paint, you squirt paint, water on the paint, it's not gonna absorb. When you do it with regular wallpaper, the paper would absorb it, and that would become, and that would separate it from the glue.
Yeah,
And-
yeah.
And then it comes right off.
But because
Then
it's
it comes
paint,
off.
it's like a different.
But you have to use steam or water, regular wallpaper, and what you have, I would go with steam, not that the steam would go through it, but the heat might loosen the glue, where you can
I
scrape it off easy.
Well, remodeling. Something.
Yeah, oh, it's,
me show you
nothing's
outside.
easy. Nothing is easy. People, if they do it enough, they learn the tricks. And if you can remember the different problems you had and how to overcome those problems. Never saw the 4-bedroom.